everybody. I apologise as usual for the delay. These kind of things are inevitable. Would you believe I've been sat here for an hour and a half trying to get all this together? So I know everybody has been very anxious to listen to this for obvious reasons. It's kind of been a big it's been a big deal. It's been a big week for me. It's been a big week within the space of the week. I've been across the Atlantic and back again, travelled across 3 states in America, and seen Lorne shackled. It's been a pretty crazy week. So anyway, I know, guys, without further ado, with me is the usual suspect, Shin's Koala. Hello, sir.
Hello, everybody.
And just want to say, before we get cracking, I have to say a huge thank you to Mr. Koala for basically picking me up from the airport, showing me around, showing me Boston, basically looking after me while I was there, because I was like, didn't know where I was, didn't know what I was doing. So thank you very much, sir. You made the trip amazingly enjoyable.
I managed to have enough gas to get there and back, so we're good.
Yeah, well, that $300 credit limit saved us, didn't it?
Yes, it was awesome. Should we make some announcement first before we get into
Well,
this?
we need to introduce two people that are here as well. So the people that joined us, there's one other that isn't tonight. But first of all, Paul, do you just basically want to very quickly explain how you came to be there with us?
Yeah.
Hey, Joey.
It was one of you guys, one of your streams that you had Shin out of one of your many, but it was the one that you guys had first mentioned that you were going to get together and try to go to this. And I'm being local to Shin. I reached out to you guys afterwards, and we wound up witnessing history.
Did we? Did you enjoy it?
Oh, quite well. Yes, that was the cleanest, best pleasure. Believe me.
Yeah, it was something, wasn't it? It really was. But thank you so much for coming, because you I owe you a massive thank you as well, because not only did you buy me a gift, which was a Boston hoodie, which was fantastic. You also showed me some of Boston. You got me fixed up in the casino, which was we both saw that room. It was pretty. It was pretty swanky, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But I'm just glad you got something out of it, because it was a long trip. Also, the guy who didn't travel quite as far as me, but within national terms did. Michael came all the way from New York. How long did the drive take you, pal?
About 8 hours.
Was it worth it?
Oh, absolutely. Would do it again in a heartbeat.
Well, there you have it, folks. What specifically was it? The actual proceedings? Because you were sat next to each other, weren't we? What was it specifically about it?
Just a courtroom, and I got there a little bit before you, but seeing that red shirt instantly, I'm going, that's Lorne, and seeing him from behind, and Mama Gwen, and just the whole milieu of having listened to Lornography for like 3 years to actually be there. It was just very exciting and enlightening.
Enlightening, wow. It did give us all a new perspective, and we'll go on that. To see him in that kind of way was very, very strange. So you wanted to, Shin, just give a couple of shout out to some new content creators?
Oh, yeah, I thought you wanted to do that at the end, but that's great. I'm sure that some of the community is aware of some of these new content creators, and they are fantastic. And I just want to go over just mention a few, and I'm sure there are many, but a few more. But it's like really cool that people are doing this, and it just would be, anybody's welcome to do this, and everybody brings something to the table. But there's a couple of honorable mentions. I think that I would love if everyone would just go to their channels and subscribe, because they absolutely deserve it. One of them is the great Babsty.
Are you
She's doing.
chewing?
Oh shoot! Now you.
Yeah.
She's doing the she's doing the chat log
We'll
reading.
count. We're gonna have like a ping every time I have to tell Shin not to chew on the mic.
I know, and I just screwed up Great Babsty shout out. I'll say it again. Great Babsty. She is unbelievable. She's funny as hell. My God, everybody should go there. It reminds me of a lot of Bay Shaman's reading, but she adds her own commentary.
Yeah,
and
they're really quite funny. I've listened to a few of them, and they're quite amusing and good spirited. It's like,
Subscribed.
and that's what you need with this stuff, isn't it? You need a bit of the comedy element to it, so it's pretty good. Check it out, guys.
And of course, I'll say a couple more. Melania, of course, she is just an artist. She is just, and her insights are just spot on. She's funny too, but she's very philosophical, very insightful, very thought provoking. You guys want to listen to her too. Of course, there's my friend Nick Pascali, who's doing some great work. And today I saw for the first time Celine made some content, and I'm kind of hoping we all could go over to their channel at some point and add them to your collection, because their stuff is fantastic. I just wanted to get a shout out to them and make sure we all subscribe to them. Thanks.
Yeah, no worries. Well, we'll go into. I know people have been chomping at the bit, literally, to hear about proceedings. So we've got some more shout outs to do later, and basically what we'll do is we'll do this in kind of chronological order. Shin wrote down a shitload inside the courtroom. I'll just explain what happened. We got to ironically, we're running late, weren't we?
Yeah, Andrew, can I just quickly, again, one more piece of housekeeping? With regard to what we're about to do, there is an actual transcript that's in the process of being made as we speak. I actually talked to, actually, the stenographer, Julie, reached out to me. Andrew and I got a chance to sit down and have a nice chat with her in her office, and she's really cool. What we're going to do is she sent me the letter to order the transcript, I should say, and the transcript has been priced at for both hearings. That's the 22nd of August. That's his detention hearing where Maria, I guess, went off on him, and of course, the one we just went to on the 1st of October. They both are estimated to be about $233. Obviously, it's not that much, but what we plan to do is I'm handing this over to Clobber. I talked to Clobber today, and he's going to do something with this to start a kind of a GoFundMe thing, and anything over that amount will go to Betty. But I'm going to let Clobber handle it from there, but folks, just know that that the transcript is in the works. Yeah,
because of the amount of money, guys, we don't we don't think it's been particularly I don't think there's anything wrong with saying we'll all pin together to pay for this transcript, because guys, it's going to be worth it. It's a lot of money to ask us to pay, so I think that if anybody can pay what they can, if you can't pay anything, it's not a problem. I'm sure I'm going to be putting some towards it myself, and obviously any excess money just goes to Betty. We'll remember. It's not to say that we'll remember what we can, but Lorne's whole speech of him breaking down will be written down word for word, and that'll keep us laughing for another several years. Trust me. It was you're talking like new content that's just as good as one could possibly imagine. You've got to remember, this didn't happen in the original trial. It wasn't a trial, a hearing, whatever. All he did was said I apologise to the world, and said he's sorry about doing such a tasteful, and then corrected himself and said tasteless things. So he didn't really break down. So are we happy to get to the meat of the bone now?
Oh yeah.
So we probably want to save the questions until we go through it, so we don't miss any of the questions. Just for you folks, if you throw one in there, I just don't want to miss it while we're going over
it'd be difficult for us to keep track of the chat and try and I'm sure you've all got questions, but if we could get to the end of it, if there's anything that you can ask us that we've not covered, because you got to remember, right, we were sat in there for 2 hours more or less. It seemed to go by in so quickly, but obviously we're not going to remember everything. It's like asking to recite the full script of a movie. It's not going to happen. All we can really tell you are certain things that stuck in our mind and the plot points. so initially, we were running late and we were a bit worried we were going to miss the beginning, and it was our own fault. We just was pissing around in the motel in Canaan, and Michael actually got into the courtroom first because he got there. He was driving on his own. It was about a 45-minute drive, so we said, there's no point you waiting for us. It's not fair. Plus, we need someone to be there in case it starts. So just explain, Michael, how you felt when you went in there for the first time and what you saw.
Alone.
It was I don't even know what to say. I was just watching him, seeing him. He looked over at me when I came in. When I first came in, I sat near Mama Gwen on that side, and then I used an excuse to get out because I wanted to get outside because I wanted to sit on the other side where I'd have a better view of Lorne because I was right behind him. And it was just, I can't even say, it was just something you would look forward to, and just to see him with the bowl cut and the hair and the hat head, it was, and the red t-shirt that he wore with the shaker weights. It was, I don't want to say a dream come true, but just an interesting moment.
Yeah, I mean, I can, guys, I know someone's saying the mic's stuttering. I don't know what to do. I apologise. I've been pissing around on this thing for a while. I think this is as good as it's going to get. So I do apologise. But, yeah, so I was the next one in. Michael was sat on the right. So basically, you've got two lots of benches, wooden benches in the courtroom. Quite a big courtroom, just like you see on the TV. Like, it's pretty significantly big, really well laid out. But sort of grandiose pictures everywhere, and obviously the bench directly at the front, all on one floor. So like no levels or anything like that. So we have benches on the right, benches on the left. Like you would for a wedding at a church or something. And then there was no. When I walked in, I saw Lorne immediately, and he turned round and looked directly at me because he wants to know who's going in the court. Now, obviously, Michael was sat on the right, and I saw an old lady sat on the left. I went and sat next to Michael, and he was one bench from the front. So there was a bench at the front behind what we later figured out was probation, and me, and then Michael sat behind that first bench. So we were like, I don't know, 10, 15 feet away from probation. A couple of guys, very well presented, sat down. And then I sat next to Michael. And we had a whisper. Nothing happening. The judge wasn't there. There was a few people dotted around, but it was a very empty courtroom. There were two people below the judge's stand, if you want, but the judge wasn't there. So we were waiting for that to happen. Lorne was just kind of chatting with his lawyer every now and again, whispering in his ear, but mainly just sat there wearing that same colour T-shirt that he had on in the shake weight videos that you can see me and Shin on the pictures on. Do we think that's the same one, guys?
I don't, but it looked very similar.
And I was like,
I thought it was orange, but I'm a little colorblind. But still,
so
in any case, it was instantly recognizable.
Yeah.
It's like just in case we were under any illusion about who it was like he's so distinctive in the way he looks as well. The way his hair is, obviously he weren't allowed to have his hat on. The fact that he doesn't do what I do and accept the fact that you're bald and still clings onto that bit of hair is just. It just adds another layer of stupidness onto him, basically. I've just made that word up. So,
Betty's here. Hi, Betty.
Hi. So we were like, we were having a little whispering conversation, weren't we, Michael? And we said we didn't think that was Mother Gwen, did we?
I thought it was his older sister because Lorne is the youngest. But then Shin's corrected us and said it's Mama Gwen.
Well, she had again. That was my guess at the time. I just happened to be right, but she had a lot of Lorne's features, and I knew she was related. And she had the cane, and she was right behind her son. So it just made sense that it was probably his mom. So
yeah.
and,
So then I was getting
yes,
a bit worried
for Betty.
because
Roses for Betty, everybody.
Betty.
So we've got loads of people in the chat, and Betty's been kind enough to join us. She doesn't want to miss any of these details to see this guy get taken down again. Of course, a real victim of Lorne. So we there was me and Michael in there, and 5 minutes went by, and Shin and associate weren't in, and Paul wasn't there, and we were like, I was getting really worried. I was thinking, shit, something's happened, and I didn't want them to miss the start. And the judge, someone said something and please stand, and literally as soon as they said please stand for Judge Woodcock, Shin and Co walked through the door. I was like, thank fuck for that.
Well, they were standing for me. That's what it was.
Yeah, exactly. The new Shin was walking in, so it was like, please rise for the Honourable Shin. So they came in, and then the game started, and you wrote it all down. So Shin, what was the first thing on the agenda? If I remember correctly, there was a bit of a hoo-ha about probation and what they were asking. There was some kind of, we can talk about what they asked the judge to actually do, which was fucking ridiculous.
Oh yeah, I mean I don't think that was his primary argument. I think he just tried to get away with something. But and I think he was pissed at Lorne for requiring him to do it, because the judge really came down on the lawyer for it. But and I couldn't believe the lawyer did it. But the first thing they go through preliminarily, what we're here for, the docket number, we're here for a revocation hearing, and then the judge goes through. He basically reads the revocation petition and goes through everything. And at that point, the burden of proof is on probation, so probation would go first. But during that summation, the judge went also through the statutory guidelines of what Lorne is looking at, the 3 years, and then I should say there's also sentencing guidelines, which are also basically advisory, but they found that based on the counts that Lorne was going to plead guilty to, he was looking at 6 to 12 months, I think they said. And those are the guidelines. But the judge could have done anything from going with the guidelines or going with the statutory guidelines. And but what happened was that apparently they reached an agreement where count 4, which is all the internet stuff, was dismissed. So what we were looking at was a hearing primarily about the alcohol use and how that actually affects his rehabilitation. And they went into some pretty interesting stuff. And it was clear to me that the judge was, I think, apprised of what Lorne had been doing based on his discussion, or actually addressing him down at the end of the day. But probation pretty much let him off the hook. And their reason for doing that, again, first revocations are usually just something that you want to try to send the probationer just some kind of a lesson, kind of a shot across the bow, get their attention. That's exactly what they said. And I can understand why that happened, but they did tighten up, everything at the end. But that's initially how it starts. The judge reads off what seemingly looks like a complaint, and then the prosecutor begins. But there wasn't really, I was primarily writing all the legal stuff, what was going on. I was citing the statute. So I wasn't really paying attention so much to what you guys were. But at some point I began to realize, what, I'm putting down my pen. This stuff is just, I can figure that out later.
I kept looking back at you, and you was writing down, and I was fixated on what was going on, trying to take in any detail. Is there anything that we've missed? Anything you want to add, Michael and Paul, at this point that were quite early in the proceedings?
I guess the one thing is that the word that they were trying to get Lorne's attention. I think that was something that struck me. The judge said that.
He said it a few times, didn't he?
Yes.
I think, if I remember correctly, Shin, at the beginning, it was kind of like they were trying to. it was just pointing out the conditions that he'd breached. That was the first port of call after the formalities. It was like,
Right.
It was the conditions, the probation conditions that he's missed.
Right.
And they just went through them, and was it very early on? I don't know whether I've got the timeline right. Was it?
Thing I do. I mean, he went through the dates of the offenses. He went back all the way back to, I think, 2015. I mean, it basically reads just like what we see in the revocation petition. So, and that's what he was reading. But there was no surprises there, but except for count 4 was thrown out. So,
I guess the one.
Sorry.
Now, just the one thing I guess is it took him 4 years to actually incarcerate him, but he'd been screwing up for 4 years.
Yeah. I mean, we could, we all you're preaching to the choir in this. Trust me, I know. But the other thing is, it wasn't a fait accompli for Lorne just because he agreed to 6 months. The judge still had to sign off on it. So, in a sense, this wasn't pro forma. Lorne didn't have to go up there and just go through his colloquy and everything else that we'll go through later. But and then knew that he was going to get the 6 months. There was a chance that Lorne was going to get more because the judge could have done that. And that's when Lorne was breaking down. And that's when he began to realize he needs to speak for himself and he needs his mother up there to hide behind her skirt. So that's when I knew that, that both counsel knew that this judge, in order to get their agreement approved by him, it wasn't going to be just rubber stamps. So, but
yeah. I remember pretty early on there was a short recess for about 15 minutes after about 30, wasn't there? They were going through the points of what Lorne had breached, and they was rattling them off. They said in 2007, he failed. What was the first violation? Was it drink related?
Yeah, it was all drink related. He admitted
there was internet access as well, wasn't there?
There was that too. But again, they kind of separated them by category. So all the alcohol stuff were in the same counts.
But there was one they disagreed on, and that's what they went away for.
That's when we went to the stenographer's office and talked to her.
Can I just bring Paul in? How did you feel, Paul, when you came in and saw Lorne?
Well, when he was turning around and looking at everybody, to just, I want to say face to face, but, eye to eye in real life was, something that, it wasn't a meme. It wasn't a parody video. It wasn't
You're right.
Footage. This was like, you could see the sweat on the guy's face. I mean, that was just enough for me. Once I sat down, I really didn't move, but I just kept trying to follow the emotions after that, and it was like watching a Broadway play.
It was, wasn't it? And I'd just like to point out as well that you had it more difficult than the rest of us, Paul, because you got really you were rough as fuck, weren't you? You were really hungover.
Yeah, slow start to the morning, but it was a fast finish to the night.
Yeah. I think you had to pull over a few times, didn't you, on the way there? That's why you were a little late. You were the last one to get in, I think. I got to say that one of the things that I've always, just from a personal standpoint, I always wondered, is this guy real? And I started thinking, well, there wouldn't be a court record. There wouldn't be a BOP.
What do you mean, is it real? Do you think he'd been made up?
Well, I really kind of need to see him in a courtroom setting just to confirm that.
It was like
it's really strange.
It ultimately felt like seeing the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, it's just that I can't believe all the stupid things I've heard that any human being could be made like this. And then to just see him in there in real legal jeopardy with real fear, I realize he's real. He's very real. So it's not like
I know we weren't gonna answer questions, but there is one that I'd like to address. Matt Collins has said, "Did you guys get the feeling from seeing him face to face that he would certainly be a physically abusive person even after all this crying?" It's difficult. You can't really look at somebody and say that
You know,
being physically abusive. But what I will say, and it's something that I was going to save till the end, but I got a sense that this isn't a normal human being. There's some feeling that I got that this isn't a regular guy. There's something very wrong with that human being. Now, it seems ridiculously obvious to say that. We've got so much evidence, but there's more to it. There's something else going on there. Like, we'll talk about it more another time, but it was a very ominous feeling. I didn't feel it. It wasn't a good feeling. You know, we'll talk a bit more about the end later because I want to try and do this in chronological order. But it was. You know, I didn't enjoy being there with him. I get the impression that he was someone that lived close to me. I'd go out of the way to avoid him.
Well, you know, that's a great way of putting it. But the way I looked at it, he looked rougher. He looked.
Didn't look that bad to me.
No, I meant rougher in terms of a tough guy look.
Yeah, he looked mean.
Yeah, it's a good point. That he's got an aura of.
But as soon as he cries, it goes away. But the thing is, the way I would describe it, you're right. You know, it's the kind of guy you want to avoid. But it also confirmed to me that no woman would feel safe in his presence at all. Just his appearance, just the way he was.
I'd be fascinated to see him on a real life date. I don't think that'll ever happen. But, you know, just with a normal woman, just to see how he conducts himself, because all he's used to is chatting up fake girls online and speaking to fake characters online. That's all he's used to. And, you know, I think he's that far gone. I went watching, just very briefly, The Joker today. If anybody hasn't seen it, watch it. It's about a guy who basically is treated like shit his whole life and then turns into this fucking wicked, bizarre character. It's pretty much what I get from Lorne. And, of course, he chooses his destiny. He doesn't realise what he's doing in a way. I did have, like, feelings that, you know, of pity, but the feelings disappeared when he kind of, you know, started to try it on, and the things that he did, which were just ridiculous. I mean, you can't. How could you feel sorry for somebody that does what he did?
Well, I wanted to add something in when you said what you thought about him on a date. I think the problem with Lorne is he doesn't have age-appropriate behavior, because I think he acts like he's 14, but he's in the body of a 50-year-old man. And so, you know, he can't really go out with a 14-year-old girl, please. But if he were to go out with a 50-year-old woman, his age-inappropriate behavior would scare her away in about 2 minutes.
Well, I think most adult women too. I mean, I wasn't, you know, I didn't get the feeling of, you know, he would be menacing in my, you know, I wouldn't feel afraid. But I can see how anybody who's, say, smaller than me, or a woman, or weaker, or even a child, this guy is a weirdo. You know, he comes
Chris
off.
Hansen was right all along.
Yeah,
but you exactly. It's a great point. It's a great point,
one of those weirdos.
I don't think he was menacing. I definitely didn't feel like he was menacing. I thought he was more childish.
No, but he could be menacing if he acted menacing. He definitely has the look for it. That's what I meant.
He did lose. I know what you're saying, though, Shin, about that look he had. He had that look of angst, and not angst, but just like anger, just unpleasantness. I don't know how else to put it, really. Just, you know,
could he use a cigarette?
Well, Blue Boy, he wasn't dumpy looking. That's the other thing. He looked jacked to me. Didn't he look jacked to you guys?
He's pretty bulky, I'd say.
Yeah, he's pretty. I mean, he's a short guy, but
good.
You know, but the other thing is he was wearing jeans too, which was interesting.
Jeans, so he kind shorts.
What's that?
Were not jeans; they were shorts.
Oh, I didn't see below his legs. Okay, I didn't see that. Okay, that's interesting.
He's going to be very cold when he gets out in January.
Yeah. But somebody asked whether he shaved his head. He didn't, and that's one of the first things I noticed is his hair seemed a lot grayer in person. Anybody else?
Well, the other thing I wanted to say is I bet you he's probably in better shape now than he was 3 months ago. because he hasn't been drinking and he hasn't been smoking, and he's probably lifting weights or doing push-ups or something in jail to occupy his time.
Yeah, I think you're right. You know, if we had been there, say 2 months ago, we might have got a real fix of what he looks like in real life, out in the real world. But here he had a chance to clean up and possibly get healthier. And a healthy Lorne is a scarier Lorne. Let me tell you that.
I thought it was going well for him at the beginning because he just stood up there, wasn't emotional. The judge was relaying, basically explaining to him, these are the terms that you've had, you've breached them, and there's going to be consequences. And every time he laid each one of them out, which was about 6 or 7, he just went, yes, sir, Your Honour. Yes, sir, Your Honour. Wasn't crying, just stood up. I can't remember if he stood up or not. I think he was. Sorry?
You seemed very contrite at the beginning.
Yes, it did. It was like, I was a bit like, this is going to be boring, this. Well, not boring, because we're still loving it, but I didn't think there was going to be any dramas. I thought it was going to be wrapped up pretty quickly. There was going to be some kind of agreement between all parties, and that was the end of it. But obviously, things didn't exactly turn out like that. There was Sorry, go on, Michael.
Oh, the thing that I was hoping for that Shin had kind of teased me with was that there was going to be some Lornography evidence put into the hearing, and unfortunately, there really wasn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's count 4.
What there was, though, was lots of references to Lornography. Even at one point, I thought the judge was going to shout at me or ask me to stand up or something. This was quite later on, so like I said, I'm going to try my best to go in chronological order. But what the first issue seemed to be was that there was this disagreement about, basically, there was Lorne's defence solicitor, Shin. You're the expert, mate. He didn't seem to have it together to me. He didn't seem to know what he was doing.
Well, like I said, probation gave Lorne a gift, so that made his lawyer's job a little easier. And they were going to get into that. I think we're going to hear more about the internet stuff when we get the transcript on the 22nd about Maria talking about why they have to keep him in. I think it might be there, but it was my understanding. Well, count 4 was all about that stuff, so they never even went into that. And I got to tell you, I think if the judge had been prepared for it, he must have been relieved that they both agreed to dismiss it, so he didn't have to make a circus out of his courtroom. But yeah, I was a little disappointed, but we got enough in terms of the reactions we wanted to see. It's interesting that you say, when he was very deferential to the judge in the beginning. Yes, Your Honor. No, Your Honor. But what was interesting about that is his voice didn't sound the same at all. To me, it sounded a lot weaker, a lot scared.
I didn't really get that impression.
Yeah, I know you said that.
I detected not fear, but I didn't wear the Boston cap, unfortunately. I would have done. Well, no, I wouldn't, because that would have been too distracting, but it would have been funny. I detected fear and kind of a broken aspect to him when he spoke, like he was a broken man.
Well, his voice was higher. His voice was higher.
Like a bit of a quiver and shiver in his voice. Did you guys get that?
You know that normal, what you talking about? It wasn't like that. It was like, yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor. It was really, really...
Very submissive, Lorne.
Very much so. I thought his speaking was different from what I've heard on Lornography. You're right, it was maybe a fearful voice.
Yeah. And it definitely was not, that cocky voice that we hear all the time. It was somebody saying, please don't hurt me, essentially. That's what it sounded like. So that's pretty much, what I observed right away. I didn't do that, Mac. At one point I was actually, if they went into count 4 and talked about the internet, because one of the things they were doing, I mean, the attorney, because like I said, they parenthetically mentioned it, but they didn't talk about what he was actually doing. They let what he said go in without really contesting it. I'm just there to get on. I don't want to jump ahead, but if it came down to it, I was going to stand up and volunteer to be a voice of the YouTube community to tell you what I observed. If I was going to ask probation if they want, I wouldn't do that. But it was really tempting to really straighten the record out, but we had to sit on our hands.
What was interesting, and I might be jumping a bit, if I'm missing anything, Michael and Paul, if there's anything that springs to mind, just jump in, because there's going to be things that we all remember. What was really interesting, and which I couldn't quite grasp, and you're going to have to let me know if you can, Shin, is how Lorne's defence solicitor tried to get his sex offender status changed to just 10 years rather than life. What the fuck was all that about?
That was okay. One of the things that I was paying attention to that I'm not sure if anybody else was. I was mostly interested because once it started getting boring, I kind of had an idea where it was going. I was more interested in seeing Lorne's reaction or interaction with his lawyer, and that was hilarious to me. And you can tell when he made that before the attorney went up to make the argument, Lorne kept leaning over and trying to talk to him, and the lawyer was just basically trying to listen to the judge. It was almost like Lorne was bothering him, and he kept waving him off, and almost to the point where I got it. That's what it looked like he was saying. And I can only imagine Lorne was saying, don't forget to make sure it's only 10 years supervised probation. And the lawyer saying, fuck, I'll make that argument. God damn it, I don't really want to, but I will. And sure enough, the judge said, are you fucking kidding me? And basically, he didn't say it like that, obviously. He said, let me tell you something. If a probationer wants to be rewarded, you don't ask for it at your revocation hearing. That's essentially what
it was bizarre, wasn't it? You're there violating the conditions that you've been given.
The judge shut him right off. Said, don't go any further. Don't make a fool of yourself. Basically, let's read the transcript about that. But when he said that, I go, are you kidding me? I can't believe he did. He just lost his credibility in this case to the judge.
Was he ordered to do that?
By Lorne, and because when he sat down after the argument and the judge dressed him down slightly, it wasn't bad. I've seen judges do a lot worse. And by the way, the lawyer was good. I want to say that all the advocates were good, and so was the judge. But when he sat down, you can tell he resented Lorne for making him do that. You could tell. I mean,
confidence in what he was saying.
You wouldn't even acknowledge.
There was no conviction or confidence in what his solicitor was saying. He was kind of quivering and he wasn't being clear, and you could tell. And then there was almost like a shock in the court when that was being mentioned. I remember thinking, hang on a minute, I'm not a legal expert. I'm not a fancy high-priced lawyer. Someone asked how many Simpsons references did I get in. Quite a few. I made a few Lionel Hutz jokes. No, I didn't really, of course. But still, Simpson, I sat mad like in a bar last night. The sun wasn't on, but I think I got the gist of it. When that went on, it was like you just realised how ridiculous his case was. It's like this guy, the whole reason he's there is because he can't adhere to his sex offender conditions.
So let's loosen it up. That's not how it happens, bro.
It's like, what planet are you on, man? You're there because they're giving you terms and you can't break these. Not particularly, they're difficult to him, but they're not torturous. They're not like you can only see daylight for 5 minutes a day. You're not allowed to go within 50 miles of civilization. These are conditions that are common sense. You can't drink excessively. You can't access the internet. You can't have you can't, have any contact with anyone under the age of 18. The guy can't do it, and he's asking to have his conditions. Didn't he actually say that probation was unfair at one point as well, Shin?
Again, we got to wait for the transcript on how they said that, but it was a little passive aggressiveness in the lawyer's argument, something effective. Well, I'm not sure if he was saying probation or the conditions were setting him up for failure or something like that. But, at one point, the judge looked at Lorne and said, look, I can't remember the supervisor's name from probation. He's an excellent probation officer. Don't turn him into a police officer again. You don't want that. That's what he said to him. So, in other words, if you think you have a problem with probation, or I should say, you should not be picking your fight with probation. You should be trying to get along with them. And that's the thing that Lorne has always done in this case. He sent in private letters to the judge trying to get his alcohol conditions removed, things like that. Yeah, that's about pretty much all I can remember about that.
Anything that you guys can add?
Just the whole I guess the balls on the man to ask for easier conditions. It did boggle the mind. I have to say it really just kind of like, this is a time where you kiss ass, not ask for favors.
Yeah, or make it easier for you. But I don't know. I mean, every lawyer has to represent their client zealously, regardless whether they like him or not.
You chewing again?
No, I'm not. There was you're being.
I'll take that as a yes.
Okay, a little bit. But anyway, so every lawyer has to represent their client zealously, no matter how disgusting they are. They have to basically go to war for that guy. But they also have a duty to exercise independent judgment as an officer of the court. In other words, don't make arguments that are illegal or against the rules or just plain stupid. And basically what that lawyer did is he compromised his independent judgment by letting Lorne make that demand of him. There's no question that demand did not come from the lawyer. You know that. So as soon as that lawyer did that, and the judge just cut him off at the knees, he sat down after he's finished his argument, and basically you can tell. I know how it feels, that he hated his client even more at that, because Lorne tried to lean over again a few times, and the lawyer just waved him off without even listening to him. But again, all that stuff was, the arguments are really, I don't think, what people are mostly interested in. I think what we really want to get to is Lorne begging for his life, when it came down to it. Other than that, I can go through the statutes and things like that, but I don't think anybody wants to hear that. But Lorne's reaction to it was amazing. When he spoke, I couldn't believe he was going to get up and speak. I really couldn't, which means that the lawyer was not positive that the judge was going to accept the plea deal. So Lorne had to go up and button it up for himself.
How much of that? I mean, you'd think in a situation like that, somebody like Lorne would just bow to his lawyer's
no, Tom, they don't.
knowledge, but it didn't seem that was the case.
I think Lorne's ego got in the way on that one.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
I think Lorne's ego.
No, I mean, what were you responding to when you said that? What did you say, Andrew?
I was just saying that you'd think that Lorne would appreciate his solicitor's opinion, but it was like overruling him all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine. I mean, you got to remember this. Lorne thinks that the lawyer only has his case. He's probably got hundreds of them. And like I said before, there's nothing that Lorne could have done to help his lawyer. So what was that? Anyway. Yeah, but this is just another case to the lawyer. Yeah, it's nothing big. I mean, until he got into it and took a look at the rabbit hole he was looking at. But this is just a case that you can just handle just very simply without making a big circus out of it. And I think that's what he was trying to do. And then get his money and get out of there. And then have him shifted off to some other lawyer case in the event that Lorne gets in trouble in the future. But that lawyer, I'm sure, would love to take back that argument. I'm sure. And I guarantee he resents his client for that. But it's his fault. It's the lawyer's fault, though.
So we had we had the point when the alcohol was being mentioned a lot. Then, didn't we? We were like, this was the main source of his. Even before the reason he was there got mentioned, the alcohol was a big deal, wasn't it? It was quite obvious that. And then it got spoke about that he has a borderline alcohol problem. They didn't say, he admitted he had a borderline alcohol problem. Said he wasn't, and they went back to previous records, didn't they, of probation and when he'd spoke to them in the past, and they were quoting records from there and saying, he's admitted that he can't stop drinking. His drink of choice is Budweiser Light. That actually got brought up, didn't it? That
Yeah.
made me chuckle.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
And
There was some details the judge just wasn't that clear about.
What was that?
It got mentioned quite early on, and I think it was brought up initially by the defence and said Lorne was on the To Catch a Predator show, and that's when, and we were like, oh, this is going to get good now, and that's when the judge started looking into it and reading the case paper file, didn't he? And he was, is that when he started going into it? Is that when?
Yeah, that's when it started.
I think it was when that's when they started going into detail. What actually happened was they said that that probation received 2 or several anonymous emails from people warning them about Lorne, saying that he's still a predator, and then his defence said, or something along the lines of, Lorne denies that he's something like Lorne disagrees, or the defence disagrees with this assertion that he's a predator. Is that? Do you remember it like that, guys?
Yes.
Yeah. And the judge straightened him out on that. Yeah.
And then the judge highlighted what he did and said, "Sir, you travelled interstate lines or whatever you could."
Interstate commerce. Yeah.
To engage in sexual activity with a girl called Koala.
Yeah.
And we were like,
Koala.
We almost lost it at that point.
Yeah, it was Koala, and then he said, and then he was going into, he's saying like, this is what you did. You wanted to have sex with a 13-year-old girl. You got caught, and he said, if there's one, he said that very much fits the definition of a predator. And he said something along the lines of, "You are a predator," didn't he?
Yeah, he actually said that the show was a valid way of proving it. That's what he said. He actually gave some kind of. Do you guys remember that? He actually gave.
Oh yeah.
Gave some kudos to Catch a Predator show.
Yeah.
Like he was a fan.
Said, he also said that people like their 13-year-old girls and they want to protect them, and this was a crime that people was gonna hate him for
and be angry at. Right.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. And Lorne was just I remember doing that.
He also said, so stop trying to use the internet to convince people that you're a good guy. Because you're not one.
What he said, at least what I heard was Lorne was trying to, or the lawyer was making the argument that all these people were basically calling him a predator, and the judge says, well, you are. And then something to the effect of he's just on the internet to clear his good name, something to that effect. And the judge says, sir, I don't think you're going to convince anyone that you're a good guy. That's what he said.
That's exactly what I forgot about that. That's exactly what he said. And can you believe, to clear his good name, Lorne is still stuck in fucking 2012.
Didn't he not say
got out.
that? Oh, sorry. Didn't he not say you are not a good man? I thought I heard him say that.
Yeah, we're going to have to get the transcript on that, but there was definitely he was definitely addressed on that issue. But I thought that related to Lorne trying to say, I wanted to clear my good name. And the judge said, that's impossible, essentially. What you did is fucked up. You should know that. Nobody's going to like you. Stop getting on the internet. Read a book or whatever he said. I can't remember.
It's almost like the last 5 years have never happened. Like, all the stuff he's read on the internet, all the catfishing, all of the, despite the ins and outs of the catfishing, it has been drilled into him. Whoever it has been, who's been the catfish at the time, has at some point tried to tell him, this is what you've done, this is what you are. Everybody that has spoke to him at some point, even though they've all had a bit of fun with him, they've all tried to explain to him, listen, dickhead, you're a freak, sort yourself out. And he just refuses to accept it. Even in that court situation there, it's said by the judge exactly what his crime is, and he's still confessing to being a good guy. It's remarkable. It's fucking remarkable. Here we are, right, with another revelation about Lorne's stupidity. Just when you think, how many videos have I made that titled "Just when you think Lorne can't get any dumber" or something along them lines? It's kind of it's fascinating to me that someone can be in this situation. Even now, as I'm speaking, I've got my hand on my forehead now, like struggling to contemplate what I've heard. It's remarkable. It really is.
Yeah.
The fact that we're there to see it happen.
Hear the noise outside. I got like 20 Pop Warner football players in my office in the lobby, so
it sounds all right.
Can you hear it?
No.
If it's too much, I'll just tell them to be quiet. But we're getting them pizza, so hopefully that'll calm them down.
Good. But what the judge said was, people love 13-year-old girls. I was like, hang on a minute, what's he getting at? This judge here is on Lorne's side. And basically what he was saying is that people love children, and that if the last thing, if you threaten children, people are gonna hate you for that, or words to that effect. He basically was telling Lorne, you're fighting a losing battle. You're fucked, basically. And that went on, and then the next significant thing that happened in my recollection, guys, and forgive me if I'm jumping ahead, please correct me, is that Lorne then got Mother Gwen to say a load of bullshit for him. Oh no, hang on a minute, hang on. No, I've missed something out. His defence solicitor, before Mother Gwen spoke, was speaking on Lorne's behalf, saying what a great person he was. And said, he has 2 dogs, he gives water to the homeless shelter. The only reason he gives water to the homeless shelter is because fucking Tiffany told him to do it. That was not his idea. He didn't want to do it. They were trying to get him to do something worthwhile. And the only reason he did it is because he wanted to go back and tell Tiffany, that's what I've done. It's the only fucking reason.
Any charity that he's ever done. If you think about it, that's the only in terms of, when you go for sentencing hearing, you want to put on the best face of your client. But if that's all you got, I gave free water that I got from my employer. By the way, he was fired, folks. I don't know if you know that. I get free water that I get, and I brought that to and then suddenly that's going to get him, brownie points with the judge or something. But that was the only thing that he brought up that he was a man at. Everything else was a responsibility. He takes care of his mother. He takes care of his dogs. But his mother actually.
Those are half truths, aren't they?
Well, I want to interrupt.
If not complete lies.
I want to interrupt there because I think people could argue that he doesn't take care of his dogs, hence the treadmill and the beatings, and he doesn't really take care of his mother, if we've heard on some of the listenings, and it was pretty lame, the water. So,
well, the point I'm making is that's the best thing his lawyer can say about him. And
it's a good point. That's what I thought when I heard that. I was like, you know what? They're scraping the barrel here, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, I thought, oh my God, why can't the lawyer find something good about him that we don't know about? That's what I was hoping to find. Maybe he saved a whole house full of orphans from a house fire or something. Did he do something? I mean, I don't know. Doesn't have to be that level, but I don't know. Maybe.
Well, no, you're being very mean here, Shin. Do you not remember in one of the Tiffany calls where he said he spent his whole life protecting children? Are you forgetting about that?
Well, why didn't the lawyer bring up how he helped Bert unload half a trailer of hay? I mean, that's good. Why didn't Bert come in to testify on his behalf?
Or Mr. Penis protects children.
Well, exactly. I mean, God.
Or the St. Jude's. Where's St. Jude's contributions? Where's the all this stuff that he claims he's done? That's the time to mention it.
He wasn't allowed to give to St. Jude's. They wouldn't take his money.
The rejection
remember?
letter?
Well, what I'm saying is, actually, you just made a good point. If his lawyers was looking to get his supervised probation reduced to 10 years, he could have used that as an excuse. I want to help St. Jude's again. I can't do it until I'm off probation. Something. But all of the bullshit that Lorne has told us, either through the Ramona saga or through the Tiffany saga, or going back to even Koala. All the good things. Not one of it was mentioned in court. Not one of it.
Yeah, and then we had, I think before this happened, they went into detail about his internet behaviour, didn't it? And I tell you what, we've got to mention what the judge said is that he's flirted with sexual deviancy online, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yes.
And as I remember,
Flirt. He kept using the word flirt.
you flirt with predatory behaviour, I think was the term. Flirting with predatory behaviour. And my recollection that his own defence brought up that he's talking to women on the internet and he doesn't know how old they are. And that was an admission, wasn't it?
Yeah, but that never got brought out though. Probation would have gone into that. And of course, how many naked pictures did you send? If count 4 was there, if they were looking for his second crucifixion, they would have kept count 4 on the table. But I just have a feeling that, I don't know. I mean, I think they could have been worried about a provocation defense or something like that Lorne was trying to claim. But the judge kind of did away with that when he said, "Don't respond to them. Stay off the internet, dude. What's your problem?" I mean, it's about what do you say? Watch TV. He does that. Read a book. I'd love to see that.
That's right. He did, didn't he? They were trying to. Basically, the judge said all his problems stem from alcohol. You get drunk, and then this magnifies your predatory behaviour. You go online, and then you're arguing with people. You can't win, and this, that, and the other.
But what I think the message was clear, and again, I think this is for the community, was the judge was saying, you can't use this for provocation. All the catfishes and all the trolling and all the content that's about him, and he goes, basically, he just said, ignore it, just freaking ignore it. No, but nobody's gonna, it doesn't have to be an issue. What he said? What is the issue? Is your behavior, and again, you're using that all that stuff as a justification for that behavior. That doesn't fly here. And so
you are not the. That's when he said, wasn't it? You are not the victim of your own crime.
That's when he said, you're not the victim of your own crime. So I thought that anybody who's worried about content or anything like that concerning, it looks like directly connected to this case, it really was irrelevant. It could be relevant next time, but again, it's going to be in front of the same judge who keeps jurisdiction of these cases. He's not going to have that same defense. It'll just be brought up against him rather than used as a provocation defense. So I think we're clear. That was my main concern. That's why we took down all of the content to make sure we don't have any effect on any of the court proceedings, anything that is defense lawyer. But it turns out it was all for nothing, according to Judge Woodcock.
Yeah, it was basically they went into a little bit of detail about there are a group of people. Did they say something about there are a group of people that follow him online? Is that what his defense solicitor said? It was something in relation to catch a predator. It was something like you I think it was his defense solicitor said he's got a following, or the judge pointed to it and said he's got a group of people who not harass, but do you remember something about this, guys?
He said something about fans of the show or something like that. He didn't say anything about obsessors. He didn't say that. He didn't paint them in a bad way. He painted them in an irrelevant way. You're not supposed to be there anyway. And if you weren't there and you were doing what you're supposed to do, it wouldn't bother you. You wouldn't even know about it.
Yeah, it basically said that the internet's not a problem if you don't go on there. Simply don't go on there, and your problem disappears. And he's exactly right. It's the same. You can draw the same comparison with, all the drama and arguing that people do online and whatnot. And people
Without
say
spoiler.
things.
Without spoiler. But he went up there. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I almost wanted to say he said what Lorne said when in front of Chris Hansen. I need counseling to get off the internet, and the judge almost parroted him on this in this hearing.
Right. And here's the thing: after the judge said all of this stuff, during Lorne's plea for his life in his statement, he still defended going on the internet. Unbelievable, remarkable. It's remarkable.
Still sell books.
And that's when the cooking show came in.
Oh, let's leave that. Let's leave that to get the full glory it deserves. But we had.
But it's amazing that Lorne almost didn't hear what the judge said.
I don't think he was listening.
No,
he was hearing the words, but he wasn't listening.
But
Um,
I'd like to interject something about, I think we talked about this earlier, it was brought up, but Lorne has some serious mental issues, and I think we talked about it at lunch. And the question is that nobody has really diagnosed him and put him on the spectrum or figured out what those issues are. And that's part of his problem.
Yeah, he doesn't admit he's got a problem, and you know you've got these mental health problems, whatever the fuck it is, because it's like I got that impression there's something very wrong with that guy.
I think that's a matter of time. I think that's a matter of time. I think that if he comes in for a second and third, the judge is going to say, "Oh, this guy's okay. He's got issues here," and he will send him in for a psych eval. And you know, a lot of people talked about, oh, maybe the judge could put him in a group home or something like that. You got to understand, these guys are excluded from homes like that. You know, if can you imagine having a relative who's in one of these homes and you find out that they let in a pedophile next door to him? No, they don't do that. He'd have to be in a probably something designed for people like him, and that's going to be difficult to find. But
Yeah, you Michael came up with a great point that it needs to be in some kind of assisted living. I think it's something that other people have said in different ways, but basically it needs to be in some kind of it needs to be institutionalized, some kind of assisted living. Basically, this is what he would need, and we were talking about this. If he was going to get sorted out, he would need 24-hour care around the clock. If I was a millionaire, I'd pay for it just to see if it's possible if a human being like that would be, just as like an experiment. He'd need a life coach, he'd need a psychiatrist, he'd need a counsellor, he'd need a cleaner, he'd need a cook, a nutritionist, all of those things. He'd need a music teacher, he'd need a speech therapist, he'd need an internet, a technical guy, he'd need all of these people around him just that he could live a normal life.
Well,
it's something we're going to go into that in detail in another video about,
exactly,
could he ever be turned around. It's not. We'll not get into that now, but we'll just point at it.
No, that's fine. The only comment.
But it was a good point that you made, Michael. It was brilliant because I'd never thought of it like that.
But my only comment, the other thing that goes on to my comment about the assisted living is I don't think you'd be able to get him to take the advice of all these people, even if you did have the $1 million and wanted to do that and said, "Look, Lorne, I'm looking out for you." I don't know that he'd accept it or to want to do it or want to go to it. The
reason for that is his victim mentality. He believes he's the victim. It's all a number of bad things that have happened to him which from a perspective is correct, but what he doesn't understand is it's his responsibility in life to get through those trials and tribulations and act like a normal human being and not just fucking roll over and be a complete arsehole. That's his problem. So I think we're getting up to the point where Mother Gwen got up there after the solicitor had his little rant, after the judge had called him a predator and said, "You need to stop drinking, sir. You're never going to win with these people online." In a last-ditch attempt, which was desperation times a million, Mother Gwen went up to the stand with a piece of paper in her hand, God bless her soul, limping a little bit. She's an old woman, and let's not make fun of her. Well, we're not making fun.
Well, let's describe it first. When she went up, I mean, we kind of got to set this scene in people's mind's eye here. At least I'll tell you my perspective. When she got up, you could tell she was very, very nervous. She dished out her little. It looked like in terms of what she was reading from, it wasn't a full size piece of paper. It was like a Post-it note. It was weird. It was a little bigger than that. And she uncrinkled it. And as she was going up and uncrinkling it, Lorne was looking at her with this look of, "Oh, my mother dear, I'm a good person. See what this woman is coming to almost like he was, I don't know how to describe it, but he softened his look. And then it looked like he wanted to get up and help his mother and he was on the edge of his seat to make sure she got there okay. And then as she began to speak, that's when the tears began.
I just want to say one thing. I want to make a comment about Lorne's mother. And I think we talked about this before, but Lorne's mother had two things. One, she had a child that died, which I think any parent would agree that's the worst thing that could ever happen to you in life. And then the
I think
second
everyone
thing,
would agree.
yeah, and the second thing is, I think the second worst thing to happen as a parent is to have to go to a hearing like this where your son's being jailed. And so
For that crime.
somebody really needs to give a sympathy to Mama Gwen.
You know,
At
that's
least
the
a
first
little
time
bit.
I felt sympathy for her, when I actually saw her and I realized I should be ashamed of myself. I think, you know, it's really weird. I felt bad for that woman. I felt absolutely bad, especially with what she told. I mean, go ahead, Andrew. You guys, I did, because the information she gave was pretty, I thought, shocking to me. You know,
there was no sincerity in what she was saying. It was all scripted. She was doing it because she's his mum. She's the only person that was supporting him. She was the only person that was there for him. She's never gonna stop loving him because he's her son. Like you said, Michael, she's been through a lot. She lost a son. You know, it's unconditional love, 100% unconditional love, and Lorne tried to use that to his advantage, which was ridiculous. I cannot understand why his defence solicitor said, listen, it's going to do more harm than good. There's absolutely nothing your mother can say that's going to alter the judge's mind. I didn't understand the tactic. I thought it was stupid. Whether it was a conversation between Lorne and Mother Gwen, I don't know. It was very strange to me.
I would have cleared, if I was the lawyer, I would have cleared what she said before she said it. I would have looked at it first.
At least edit the script. You know what I mean? Don't do it Last Jedi and don't even read what's been written. You know, it was like it was very strange. But you're right. Lorne gave a look as like, my saviour's here.
Yeah, it's almost like, hey, everybody, look, I'm a good guy.
Yeah,
you know,
it was like, do you not realise what you're doing, man? This is your mother, the only person in the world who's going to say something nice about you. The judge is not going to buy it, you fucking idiot.
And here's the strangest feeling I got about the whole thing. What she was saying, you know, the whole court was just, you know, very cold stone about it, like we were. We thought, if anything, we were laughing, but also there was a couple of parts there that were shocking to me. But Lorne somehow found this to be the most emotional thing in the world, and that's when he started crying. And it seemed so out of place for what she was saying, because she wasn't saying anything emotional about him. She was just describing the good parts of him, but she wasn't saying how much he was loved, how much people love him. Well, maybe she did to a certain extent. The dogs, I think.
Yeah, she mentioned the dogs. She mentioned the water.
His family that'll talk to him. She didn't go up there and exactly gild the lily when it came to what a great guy was, but for some reason that was enough for Lorne to just fall apart. And I'm thinking,
it wasn't at that moment when he fell apart, was it? It was, you know, Mother Gwen said a thing and then she went down and she said, you know, my son is this, that, and the other. She mentioned the dogs. She mentioned that he's a good son, that he cares for her, that he like looks after her, which we know isn't true. That he needs his job, that he has a trailer. I think that was it. He was
quietly crying. He wasn't wailing. You could tell he was doing his thing.
I'm going to make a Simpsons comparison, right? Because I haven't done that for a couple of videos. It was like, has anybody seen that one where Duff Beer get done for buying one of the baseball teams, and then Duffman gets up in a costume and goes, "That was it, Joel Duffman, the Newsly Times. What's with the spear campaign against this beloved brewer?" And then like the chairman of Duff goes like, "Yep, he's done it. He saved us." It was kind of.
Let's do our best. Let's do our best to put our heads together to remember exactly what Mama Gwen said. Anybody?
So she mentioned the water, didn't she?
Yeah. Well, that's a terrible part. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
She drives 20 miles every day to feed the dogs.
That was weird.
No, she drives 20 miles every day.
No, she said he did, I thought.
No.
He comes every day to feed the dogs while he's been sitting.
Right. It was more like she was saying, this is what it's doing to me by keeping him in here.
That's exactly it.
Not what he was doing, not what why he doesn't deserve to be in there, but what the hardship he's causing on all of us. And part of that hardship, and this is where it's shocking, she's been paying his aunt was paying for his land while he's in there. And then Mama Gwen said she's paying for the rest of his bills. And what we do know,
And she's driving 20 miles a day to feed the dogs. And I mean, this is an old woman,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
pretty old woman with a cane.
Yeah, Logan made a great point. What about those dogs? You know, they gotta, you know, they get fed once a day and that's it. They're stuck in that place. I hope they're pissing and shitting all over the place. But that being said, but the other thing she said was that she is paying the rest of his bills, which means his Dodge Journey bullshit that he got into. That's why it wasn't.
Is that confirmed, that Shin? I didn't understand that. Is she paying for all his shit now?
Specifically the car, but I'm just adding an inference to that. If she says she pays his bills, what other bills does he have besides his land and cigarettes and Bud Light when he's not there? Well, it would be the grocery bills for the dog, I guess, but also that van is still there. That truck is still there. That brand new truck. So somebody had to have made one payment at least to keep the repo guy off. The question is, how long can she keep doing it? I know she makes about $800 a month on Social Security.
Yeah, and that truck's still there, isn't it?
That's 3/4 of her check that goes to his truck. And his Aunt Sharon is paying for his land. You know, or I don't even think it's in his name, but just to keep the land. And I think that is basically paying the taxes on it. So basically he's got everybody sitting back, you know, taking care of all of his responsibilities he would have in the free world. And he made it sound like, and of course, that's why Mama Gwen said, we got to get him out. I think that was the gist of what she was saying. But when you read the transcript, folks, you could make your own decision about that.
How did you guys feel when Mother Gwen got up there emotionally? So obviously we felt sorry for her. You know,
for her, yeah.
She's had a bit of criticism from certain lawnographers in the past for raising Lorne, which you know, seems like a natural conclusion. But of course, I don't have any of those feelings towards her, and especially after seeing her like that. She's had a difficult life. She's tried the best she can. Unfortunately, Lorne's turned into what he has. To see her, you know what really sickened me? The whole thing is how could he make her do that? How could he? It just. Did you guys think that way as well?
Yeah. That's why I'm outraged. That's exactly why I'm outraged. And she went up there to complain about the burden on her, essentially. You know, and the family.
I've always felt that, you know, as a parent, you have a responsibility to get your kids somewhere, but at some point, that responsibility, even if you didn't do the best job possible, it then becomes the adult child's responsibility to right the ship. And
right.
The Lord never righted that ship.
Yeah, but my point was she wasn't advocating on behalf of Lorne. She was advocating on behalf of her and other people who are being caused this hardship. That's quite different. That's quite, in other words, if this guy was out there, he can take care of his own bills. He could feed his own dog. He could drop his water off at the homeless shelter, which is the only thing I don't do for him. You know,
she said he was. Oh, she said he was a good son. He takes care of her. He gives, you know. So he said some stuff, but I think, yeah, Shins, that's a good point, because you're making the point that she was really talking about the hardship his incarceration is putting on his family a lot more than this is a great guy who doesn't deserve to be in jail.
Well, she did call him a good man, I think, but yeah. Well, we know how the judge feels about that. But when you read the transcript, I think that might shine through. I could be totally off. We'll see.
One other thing I wanted to bring up, and I think we talked about it a little bit, but going into that courtroom and the fact that I can recount every single person who was there, because it was basically Mama Gwen, the five of us, and then there was one unidentified guy in the back. And I think we just need to think about that. This is all the people that wanted to come to his hearing. That, you know,
yeah, I was going to ask you that
life.
Unidentified guy was, but you're right. It spoke volumes to me that there was only his mum there.
Well, wait a minute. When the hearing was over, when Mama Gwen came out, and we kind of hushed up and, you know, didn't try to make her feel uncomfortable, and we were outside, suddenly two other women came, and we speculated on who they were. But the point was that I believe one of them was his Aunt Sharon, the other one was his sister, Lorne's sister. And the interesting thing was that they submitted a letter from Aunt Sharon, remember? But she didn't testify. We don't know what's in that letter. He didn't read that into the record. But Aunt Sharon was there. Why didn't she go and testify on his behalf instead of just submitting a letter? If that was Aunt Sharon. If that was Aunt Sharon.
The letter was probably, please keep him locked up.
But more importantly, why wasn't she in the courtroom to show some semblance of...
Well, that's why I'm saying that it was probably a negative letter, because why would she not be in there to support?
But why would she submit? But why would she submit a negative letter? Why would they submit it? I just think the fact that his sister and aunt, if that's who they were, and we're speculating, why weren't they in the courtroom? That's what throws me.
Because you got to remember at the beginning of the case, the defense lawyer always makes it a point to point out who's there in support of him. The only one he had was his mother. That's who he pointed to. But there were two other people who were in support of him who were in the courthouse but weren't in the courtroom, and it would have made it a little bit better for the defense lawyer. There has to be a good reason why they weren't in there. I don't know.
So next we had
just striking the people in the court. The fact that I can identify, as I said, very, very striking.
Oh yeah,
no, yeah. Seemed to wonder who we were. I didn't get any questions, anything like that.
Can we get to the good bit? Because I'm anxious to tell everybody about it. So we had the bit. His mother sat down, and then there was a couple of nattering between the judge and the prosecution. He said, "Does the prosecution rest?" Something words along those lines, and then the judge asked, "Does Mr. Armstrong want to speak?" And I didn't think he was going to do. And I was praying. I was praying that he would. I was praying. I was like, "Please, God,
definitely not speak.
I've travelled all this way. Please let him speak." And then basically there was a bit of nothing happened for about 20 seconds. I thought he's not going to do anything.
Well, you know why? Did you? Whoa! You forgot something. What he did when the judge asked him, "Would you like to be heard? Would your client like to be heard?" And the lawyer just kind of mentioned him. You know what Lorne did? Do you guys remember this? He just calmly grabbed a pitcher of water, grabbed the cup, slowly poured it in while we're all watching him, and just chugged the water down fast, took his time like he was setting up a dramatic moment. It was, oh, good. This is going to be good. And it was.
Oh, was it?
It was funny the way he made us wait with bated breath while we watched him pour the water. This is stuff that won't be in the transcript, so I thought I'd share this. So he poured the water, and everybody's looking at him going, get the hell up there. I mean, it literally took about, like you said, what did you say, 10 seconds, 20 seconds?
Yeah, but Shin.
Well, we all watched him drink water.
Didn't he kind of like break down for a minute as he stood up? Like kind of just got overtaken with emotions as Mama Gwen sat down, he stood up and he just started to there
was a time period. There was a time in between Mama Gwen speaking and when he got up. But yeah, he did get up, and you could tell it was going to be good. You can tell.
It kind of. I'm just gonna basically, because I cracked up, but please allow me to say this, is that he initially said in a cry, he started crying first, and it was like this.
Yeah, without any.
Yeah, and he went, I don't know what to do. The internet people won't leave me alone. And then he's like going on, and he says, I wrote a book. I want to do my cooking show. And that's when
Well, he said singing too first. And then but what he was pissed at was people making money off of him. That's what he got.
That's right. He said that as well. People on the internet are making money off my name.
And my book.
He said.
And my book.
Yeah.
He claimed that there was some relationship to us or the community. And here's the thing, though. He spoke very, very quietly, and he was convulsing as he was crying so hard he was convulsing. Snot everywhere.
And it really
that's what made it so funny when he said,
I would have said, Your Honor, can we take a moment to let my client, compose himself, because I thought he was just going to lose it. And then you could tell was he reading from something? Do you remember? Was he reading this?
I don't think so.
No.
Cuff, didn't he?
No, I think he was off the cuff.
Yeah, which made it even more dramatic because Then the judge, then he went into, why he needs to be on the internet. After the judge just told him, stay the hell off, and the judge went into it afterwards. And again, I'm hoping I remember it in that order. But
I had one thing. The hardest part about the whole thing was when he started crying. I really wanted to just say, "Lorne, are you crying?"
Yeah.
And I had to keep myself from doing it.
I was too busy laughing. I just couldn't.
Mama Gwen say I'm going to completely throw the computer away, but that didn't happen either.
It was so funny. When he mentioned the cooking thing, it was so out of context with the nature of what he was, the objective of what he was saying was, I don't know what effect he could have had on the judge, but just to mention something that the judge wouldn't have understood, it was totally irrelevant to the situation. Does he think that the judge is going to let him off so he can do another cooking show? I said, "Oh, you want to do a cooking show, right? Please let Mr. Armstrong go." What?
Andrew, when you lost it, okay, we got to talk about your reaction because you almost got held in contempt. It was amazing. Because you were in front of me to my left, and I had to ask you guys to scoot down because you were blocking my view to Lorne. And but when he went up there and he spoke, and as soon as he said cooking show, I go, "Oh fuck!" And I looked at you, and you were in the front row over to my left, and you put your head down, and your back was shaking like you were laughing. And then you stood up and you turned around and looked at me, and I shot you this look like I'm not going to react to that, because if I laughed or smiled, I think it would have made it worse for you because I wanted to. And then you straightened up. I don't know if you remember that, Andrew. That was funny.
But the thing is, I tried to hold it together, right? Because at one point, I've never laughed as much in my life. I thought I'm gonna have to walk out of the courtroom, but I was like, I didn't want to, so I had to compose myself. I composed myself for a few seconds, and then I just burst into tears again. So I had to hold my head in between my knees so that no one could see me. I had tears everywhere, it was tears rolling down my face. I thought, if someone looks at me now, they'll think I'm either crying because I feel sorry for Lorne or I'm laughing. It was just,
I gotta say,
the funniest thing in the world.
I think the judge would have excused it because it sounded so ridiculous that he would think that any human being could not have not laughed at that. He probably wanted to.
It was. I think that could have been one of the funniest things that's ever happened in the history of this planet. It's like, I want to do my cooking show, Your Honor. It's like, oh my God.
And write books. And
protect children. This predator wants to protect children. I think
the judge just would have had to say something because of the decorum of the court. That's the only reason. I'm sure he would have been laughing just as hard.
There is one thing we can't keep going on forever. I've got work in the morning, but we still got a bit to get through because we've got questions to answer. But what I want to talk about is Lorne's reaction to us. So all this has gone on, and we're watching him. I didn't realise he had shackles along his waist area. I did because of the way the benches were positioned. I didn't see.
No. They put him on afterwards.
Well, that's why I didn't fucking see it.
Yeah, and when they put him on, he was right in front of us, looking at us.
Yeah, and he walked past us all at a very slow pace. He looked me in the eye.
That glare.
Yeah, and I knew he was trying to figure out whether he recognises me. I know he knows who I am, but I don't know whether he knows what I look like. But I've no idea if he knew who I was. He didn't say anything. I had a straight face at that point. What I didn't want to do is have any kind of interaction with Lorne. I didn't even want him to know I was there because I just don't want to interfere with anything to do with the court system, with his life. I don't want anything to do with it at all.
Right, the directive, the Star Trek directive.
Exactly. The Prime Directive of non-interference is what I always say. Unfortunately, I'm now part of it because he's looked at me and he was trying to figure out who I was, as it was with all of us. And if I'm thinking about this, right, it will have been quite a strange group for him because you've got Michael. You just look like an average guy, no offense, but you just look like a general guy your age, dressed normally. I was wearing a smart shirt. He's probably jealous because I'm bald and I'm actually good looking, whereas he's not. And then you've got Shin looking ridiculously suave with his suit on and his shirt, who looks like either an Italian gangster or a lawyer. Now, you think of what that will have done to Lorne's brain. And at the side of Shin was a very nice-looking lady who I think we're able to mention.
Yeah.
Who was with Mr. Koala, who looked very glamorous. Now, you think about an Italian gangster stroke solicitor and this glamorous woman being there at Lorne's trial as well as us lot as well, and you had, Paul at the back looking hungover. You didn't have your sunglasses on, did you? Just think of what will be going on in Lorne's brain now. Who the fuck were these characters?
I had my moment too with Lorne when they were putting the cuffs and shackles on him. It seemed, by the way, when they were doing that, it seemed like it was so routine for him. Like he knew exactly where they needed to get the key in, so he manipulated his arm in a certain way, and then he knew when they were going to put the shackles around his waist. He put his arms up, and it was almost like he was talking to them normal. It was like a total career criminal, right? So as they were doing it, they were walking him. Now he had to walk. He was on the left bench. We were in the gallery to the right. Okay, so he had to walk by us. Andrew, you were in the first row. I was in the second row. And when I got up, the judge had left the bench. The attorneys had left. So there was just Lorne and us and the marshal service taking him back. And so as he's walking back, he's walking really slow because he has to shuffle with his shackles. He looks right at me. And I thought to myself, I am not going to break my stare. I'm not going to blink. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to make him blink. And sure enough, he looked to my left and he looked at Watson, who I was with, and he looked her up and down real quick, like, I'm going to remember this when I masturbate tonight. And then
I've already done that.
And then he looked directly at me and put his head on the ground, immediately pointed his head toward the ground and walked out. And I couldn't help but, give it a little chuckle at that point. I had my moment with him. Be careful when you meet your anti-heroes, I guess. But it was fun. It was surreal to be that close and having. You got to look at it from my perspective, guys. Like, not that I'm any better or different than these guys, but for me, I'm someone who's travelled halfway across the world, has made videos about this guy for 2 years, has changed not the course of my life, but it's changed a few things, like quite a significant impact on my life overall, this bizarre obsession with this character. And to be in that position in a courtroom, which was in this beautiful part of the country, with these chaps who had only met 2 days ago, and there he is looking at me in the eyes. It was just a fucking weird moment, really strange. Yeah, it just to share that moment in time with him, it's kind of weird. That suddenly he's part of my life and all that other stuff. I'm not starstruck by people or anything like that, or famous criminals or things like that. But he did something to me. I don't know what it was, but I've never had a personal interest in a criminal before, I guess. But he was. I don't know how to describe it. It's really difficult to describe my feeling.
I think it goes back to what I was saying before, Shin, about there's something else going on with this guy that we don't know about. There's some unknown quantity that we can't figure out.
Yeah, it's funny. Somebody just mentioned, I think it was Querity. Querity has some great comments. You should have winked at him. I was tempted to do that. But I thought he would definitely get provoked, and I thought he might come after me, and then I'd end up sharing the cell with him. Wouldn't that be cool? But anyway, but I didn't, and I'm wondering as he's going back there, I'm wondering if he's thinking, "Who the fuck was that guy?" That's what I'm hoping. Who the fuck was that guy? I was like staring him down, like, yeah, keep going.
Well, when I got into the courtroom. I was the first one there, and he looked at me, and I could just see this quizzical look, like, who the hell is this guy? And I still feel like what Andrew said was very important. It was our position to observe and not really interact.
Right. Oh, Query, no, who was it to ask me that? Yes, total straight face. I'm talking about locking eyes and not blinking. And watching him cower away. That's what I wanted. But what he did was he took a quick look at Watson, checked her out up and down. Then he looked at me like, I hope you didn't check me. I hope you didn't see me checking out your date or whatever it was, whatever we thought it was. And like, and then he looked down because he saw me looking at him, looking at her. And it was like immediate, oh shit. That's what it looked like to me.
So what about you guys, Michael and Paul? Did you have any sort of, how did you feel when you looked? Did he look at you? How did you feel?
Man, like I said, just to get to see him at that moment in time, that after all that we've each known about him, and along the way, to have it happen in front of us like this was kind of like some sort of reward. It seemed that
yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Somebody asked,
it was a certain payoff for everything, that all the hours and all the investment that we put into it. It played out really, really well, and just another chapter in Lorneography too.
What was the closest you guys got to him? I think it was about 6 feet. Maybe you were closer. You were right there. You could have like spit on him.
I was right behind.
When he was walking by, remember when he came really close to the bar, and he was walking out of the courtroom? You guys were in the front row. I was still in the second row. So
we all stood up as well, didn't we? I don't know whether we.
Yeah, we stood up. I think
we all stood
Andrew
up.
And I were.
So we're all on a level with him. So we stood up as the court proceedings have finished, and we're all kind of like intrigued, and we didn't want to turn away from him because I didn't obviously want to, seem like I was somehow scared. So I had to look at him and wait until he turned up, and then he started looking at Shin.
Well, real quick, there's a really good question for all of us. Somebody asked this: did any of you feel compassion for the guy at any point?
I did. I've mentioned that in the last video. It didn't last long. It was when I first saw him, and I just got this sense of, here's a guy who's lost, who doesn't know what to do. And his first words in his rant were, I don't know what to do. And do you know what? I believed him. He doesn't know what to do. To us, it's very simple. To him, he doesn't know how to stop drinking. He doesn't know how to stop answering the phone to whoever it is that decides to catfish him 1 week. He doesn't know how to avoid those because he's got nothing else going on. This is why I say he needs a team of specialists around him. I didn't feel sorry for him or any compassion when he's got his mum to do his dirty work for him. That's when it ended. I'm like, you piece of shit.
I didn't feel one ounce. Not one ounce.
No, I know you didn't. You're a tougher guy than me, obviously.
I'm not trying to say tougher guy. He just gave me no reason to. That's all.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm open to the fact that my empathy is misplaced. Totally.
No, I really do. You're a better person than I really wanted to.
I don't think that's the case. I think it's just a case of, I'm an emotional guy anyway, and I always have been. So sometimes my emotions are misplaced.
I feel like you have to have some empathy for another human being who's suffering, and I think that's part of our humanity. And if you don't have any empathy, who are you? And so there was some empathy, but not for a minute did I think this was a good man, not that I think this was an honorable man. No, this isn't somebody I wanted to emulate or I'd want my children to emulate, but you have to have some compassion for a man, for the situations that got him where he is. But he certainly has made many bad decisions to put him where he is and where he belongs.
Very well put.
You imagine if Betty was with us? If he while he was
that'd have been that'd have been
welcome
amazing.
to your past, Lorne. Welcome to your past.
Well, that would have, if Betty had been with us, that would have changed the trajectory of it, because he would have known that we were who we were if we were with Betty.
Yeah, but more importantly, I think he would have seen her before the hearing started, and then when he got up, he couldn't help know or realize that she was listening to everything, all of his bullshit, and that I think he would have sounded even less sincere. knowing that there's someone right there in the courtroom who can call him on his bullshit. A real victim, in other words. Oh, there she is. I don't know whether shit or that's right, Betty.
But there was no mention in the court proceedings about or was there mention about what he had done? I don't think there was. Remind me. I think there was no mention of
what he'd done with regard to what.
To regards to how he swindled Betty, and I think other
no,
people.
There wasn't. Yeah.
The legal system won't know anything about that because he was never convicted of any offences.
The reason why I'm saying that is because Lorne would have been thinking in the back of his mind that his mother goes up there and says something bare bones about what a good guy he is. He might be thinking, well, Betty's going to follow this up and straighten the court out about what a piece of shit he. I mean, even though she wouldn't be there to do that, the prosecutor doesn't need a victim impact statement from her because it's not his case. Lorne would have still been wondering whether Betty would have been there to checkmate anything he said. So I think that would have added a little bit more desperation to him. But I don't know if it could have been any more than we saw, though. But and somebody asked a question about Mama Gwen. We did go outside, and she was about to cross the street at some point. There was some kind of incident that took place, and we kind of jumped into action a little bit because I thought there was going to be a situation where I was going to have to run out and help her cross the street. But that didn't happen. The sister or the aunt went over and fetched her.
Just want to field a couple of questions while I just nip out to the restroom for 30 seconds.
To the lavatory, absolutely. Okay, folks, we can take some questions now. By the way, somebody had asked the hearing length. It was really interesting. I didn't really look at my watch, but I know we started at about 10:30 or a little less, probably about 10:20 or so. Running late, thank God. And I don't know how long it lasted, but when we got to that restaurant afterwards, and I was the only one who ordered a martini, and I don't drink. I just felt like I wanted to celebrate. And everybody's looking at me strange, and I looked at my watch, and I said, well, it was like 11:59. I said, close enough. And that's when I realized the hearing probably took about an hour and 20 minutes. So, because I didn't look at my watch leaving the place. Okay. No, Chris Hansen was not there. Okay, Maine is wonderful. You should
Nor
ask
was Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, we actually we had Sly's plane was late. No, let's see. I'm trying to see these questions here. Lorne, does he look his age, guys?
Yeah. He sure does. He doesn't.
Yeah, I say too. I say he looks a little older.
Yeah.
Than 47. So based on the outcome, how long does Lorne have to stay on the no alcohol? Okay, the no alcohol is a permanent condition. He shouldn't be in possession of any alcohol or intoxicating substances, which also include legal weed, I guess. Now he's going to be on a alcohol monitor for 120 days when he gets out, and he can be tested up to 5 times a day. He's also going to be polygraphed. So I don't know if he takes one sip of beer, he's going to get caught.
I wanted to ask you: are his conditions? Do we know if there's been any changes? Like, his initial conditions when he was released, not excessive alcohol abuse. No, he's not allowed to touch it at all.
I'm sorry, I was reading a question when you said that. Say it again.
So he's not allowed to touch alcohol at all now, as opposed to before it was just excessive use.
Well, he's given up that privilege because his condition used to be he cannot abuse alcohol. Now there's no. I don't know if they're going to be on pace or in God We Trust. Well, I guess they would be. I think actually, Clobber actually did a stream last Sunday with them. Let's see if you. Okay, well, there's no real court-appointed sketch artist. It's usually somebody who's paid by the press to come in and do that. So the court doesn't really do that. And we try to find somebody, but yeah. Hey, Shin, is your opinion was? Yeah, I thought he was very competent for what Again, he didn't have a lot of bullets in his gun to work with. The Mr. Penis in the lineup. Let's see. Does have a nice piss. Oh yes, Andrew. Andrew can answer that. Yes, lifetime off alcohol, Tom. He's lifetime. No
Which means
recording
he's screwed,
devices.
guys. Which means he's screwed. Like we know that Lorne's biggest problem is alcohol. Well, not his biggest problem. He's got fucking lots. But with regard to sorting his life out, it's one of the reasons I don't drink anymore. Apart from when I was in Boston, of course, it'd be rude not to. But it just prohibits you from growth, and he needs to grow in order to have anything close to a normal life. So I mean, we've not really touched upon it.
Andrew, Andrew,
Sorry.
there was that one thing that leads to all this is the subject of isolation.
Yes, that's correct. That's right. We went to, I think I mentioned it in my last video. We went to a bar. It was the only bar in a nearby town, and they'd obviously not heard of Lorne. And it was like we were talking about the isolation of the area. Is one thing that amazed me about America is the vast scope of the place and how, neighbours are miles apart sometimes. And he's got. Someone said in one of the comments of my last videos, you can feel isolated anywhere. Of course you can. But for instance, I live on my own at the moment, right? But obviously I've got a lot of friends. But if I get lonely, which does happen every now and again, even if none of my friends are there or there's nowhere to, I can go to a coffee house or sit, there's something I can do. There's always an option. He doesn't have any of that. Anything. I'm not saying this to feel sorry for him. It's just pointing out the facts. It's a problem that he has. Is that but what's he gonna do? What's he gonna do if he doesn't drink? There's lots of things he can do. I think we were talking to the people in the bar, weren't we, Paul, and saying he should go hunting. Go hunting, go fishing, chop wood.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Read a book.
No, that's good. Andrew, real quick. Somebody had asked how many takes did it take for us to do that shake weight video? Do you have any of the video, one take of it that we can show them?
It's been shown throughout. It's on there now.
No, I mean, is it a video or is it?
It's a video.
Oh, I didn't even see it. Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Wasn't it just three takes?
I've been in the comments. I haven't been watching the view itself. How many takes? About 10.
Pretty funny, actually.
Yeah, we should we should post the outtakes at some point.
Yeah, we've got some more stuff. I might put the audio in actually for a bit of a laugh.
Yeah, all I see is a still. I don't see the actual video though.
Oh, it'll change in a minute.
Okay, because I think people would only because we did the whole thing. We're not that fat. See, I know the shirt makes us look fat. We did that. Okay, I did when you started. Okay, hang on a sec. Is there any more questions? He can't go hunting. Yes, he can coach a high school girls volleyball team for sure. Oh, what does Maine smell? It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
Oh, well, that's not really, Greg. That's not really a kind of lawn-related question, but I will answer it because I fucking love Boston. Do you know what I like about it? I only saw a small and Shin took me to the north end of Boston. And I love all the little Italian bars and the little Italian cafes, and I love the high rises. It's not too busy. It's not too quiet. I love the harbour. I love that there's beaches nearby. When I was landing and flying in, and the actual amount of beaches and greenery I saw, like, this is amazing. I cannot believe I've been here before. And everybody's dead friendly. I just couldn't get my head around it. Everybody where I live is a miserable, angry arsehole. And obviously, you listen to me, so you know that that's the truth. And over there, I know America's got its problems, like Lorne, for instance. But yeah, but anyway, that's just I don't want to.
In COD we trust. Do I feel like he got off easy? Not after listening to the hearing, and also considering they got rid of count 4, and that was probation who let him off easy. It wasn't the judge at all. Judge can't rule on something that's not before him. Oh, that was their choice. Somebody else asked a question. Well, what made the judge call Lorne a predator? That was when Lorne was complaining about the show and how somebody wrote an email to probation calling him a predator, and the judge says, "Well, you are." So that's when that happened. We'll get the transcript on that. Let's see. Oh, we got to do a shout out for Tiffany's channel too. She's putting out
Yeah,
content.
she's going to be putting some content on there, guys. So just click on Tiffany Lockhart's channel. You can see her in the chats and subscribe because she put a video out today, and there's going to be some more stuff. We're going to be doing some more videos together, hopefully soon, about the consequences of Lorne's actions, whether he can be reformed, what it would take, also the journey of speaking to him regularly. We've got some really good ideas about some good stuff coming up soon.
Let's see. Let me go off easy. Amanda James. Yes, I've been called a so-called cocksucker before. Yes. The juggler was one wearing. He wasn't wearing an orange jumpsuit. He was wearing. Apparently, these guys corrected me. I thought it was blue jeans, but he was wearing blue jean shorts. Oh my God, that's kind of a weird outfit. And he was wearing what I thought was a cutoff of a prison top, orange prison top. But these guys said it was his salmon shake weight video tank top that he had on. So which means he's still in street clothes. He's still wearing street clothes.
Yeah, I'm going to make the guess that this is probably what he was wearing when he went into probation in July.
That tells you a lot right there.
And I doubt he owns a suit.
With a tank top on. Okay.
So
I think he wears jail garb in jail, I would think, right?
Yeah, we thought it was the shake weight vest, didn't we?
Right, we did.
Keep in mind though that the only time that a prisoner doesn't have to wear his jumpsuit or anything like that is when he's going to be in front of a civilian jury. A judge already knows he's in custody, so there's no sense in putting him in a suit. You want to put him in civilian clothes when there's a jury in front of him. Other than that, preliminary hearings, all that other stuff, he comes in whatever he's wearing.
But you think that he's wearing that? He's wearing that pair of clothes, that he's wearing regular street clothes in the jail?
Well, here's what again, I can't speak for. Well, again, he's under the BOP now in the U.S. Before he was in a county jail. A lot of county jails, after a certain period of time, they put you in a jumpsuit if they think you're going to be in there for quite some time. They could have very well waited to see what happens with this hearing before they put him in a jumpsuit. That's what I think might have happened. Unless that's their prison garb. If you think about it, cut off jeans and tank tops, that sounds like Rape Island. I wouldn't want to do that. I would not want to be wearing that. Let's see. I think he is. I'm not sure what the BOP is going to do. I mean, typically when lawyers finish a case, we really don't follow our client after that. Sometimes we can get the court to make a recommendation to the BOP, but the BOP doesn't have to follow it. So even the court doesn't have any control. So it depends on where he is and what the rules are.
I doubt they would transfer him for 3 months.
Highly doubt it. My guess is they'll find a facility. There's a lot of private facilities up here. They'll probably find something for him.
We've got to wonder what the future holds for Lorne. Excuse me. I've got I picked up a virus on the plane, so forgive me. But it's something we'll talk about in the future. But really, I'm thinking, what's he going to do when he gets out? He's going to have lost his job, his trailer. He's got all these conditions. He's not going to keep to them. He's going to go back at Tony and Wendy's and be drinking again, one would think.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead. Sorry.
I wanted to add on the drive up. I saw at least 2 RC Moore tractors. Really kind of got me into the mood for the hearing.
Yeah.
Speaking of his job,
he lost it.
He lost it, but he worked for RC Moore. That's why it was.
Yeah, and by the way,
psyched.
there was a lot of things coming out about people calling his work, calling his mother. That's something the judge kind of took note of. So you kind of watch out for that, guys.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that, didn't we? Yeah.
That doesn't really reflect well on us. But then again, I don't give a shit. But those people are innocent. So.
So we're gonna have to start wrapping it up now, guys. Very shortly. Is there any final questions? Anything you guys want to add? Anything? Any?
Yeah, I want to do one more thing. We have, in terms of the animal welfare issue, I was going to go to the animal shelter and see what I can do to get them the information. But the problem is, there was 2 problems. One, we ran out of time, and 2, it looks like Lorne's going to be out in time to keep his dog. So I don't think he's going to be going to a shelter to get new ones. But I'm going to put a link here right now, and hang on a sec. Welfare at maine.gov. Anybody's welcome to send this email address, complaints about Lorne. And if you want to add attachments, things like that for proof of this, this is be good. But the problem is you can't be trolling them. You can't be doing anything if you want to take it seriously. So, I would again just look at this as something that you want to have some effect on. So if you just want to express, hey, take a look at this guy or things like that, it might be a good idea to start sending it to this organization. And that link was given to me by somebody in the comments before we were talking about it. Now, I also don't know if they may be concerned about the dogs they've already adopted to him, because there's certain contracts that people who are going to adopt dogs have to do. They have to take care of them and all this other stuff. They find out that the dog's not taken care of, then they may want to maybe they can do something, but I doubt it. But at least we can put him on their radar, and that's what I'd like to do. If everybody could respond to them who wants to respectfully, and if you want to add attachments like a link to show Roscoe on the treadmill, how he uses the dogs for pedo props and things like that, that would be good. Yeah. I know I can't. How can I say something serious when I'm working that shaker weight? I don't know how that can work. So I just wanted to be able to leave you guys with that, and believe me, I haven't forgotten this. So, how did he react? He was expecting it, so there was no surprise. But I think he was still crying for his life, and I think he was very, very upset that Tiffany was on the beach and not giving a shit about him. To tell you the truth.
It might have been another factor in his tears. I mean, the tears always come on, don't they, when something isn't right? It's like it's pathetic, but no one was there for him. It's
he wasn't hurt though. Those weren't hurt tears. Those were fear tears. Those were fears of a terrified child.
Yeah, you could tell he wasn't enjoying the thought of going down for that amount of time. So I don't think he's having the best time in prison. I'm sure you guys are probably happy to hear that. I don't think it's no bed of roses, shall we say? Which is of course it's not supposed to be.
Let's see. I'm just trying to see if there's any last minute questions. I'm sorry, it's funny. Impassioned play. Okay. I think again. I hope we covered as much as we can until we get the transcript out, and we'll have fun with that too. Clobber's going to be handling that. I'll be actually getting it, but he'll be handling a fund drive for that, and hopefully we can relaunch Betty's fund drive as well. So, and that's what we really want to use it for. Kind of do that on the tail ends of Clobber and Emma's brilliant idea to do that. So, yeah, I would have done something differently. Yes, I would have had him probably gagged in the courtroom to not speak to me while I'm doing this, because he would. Do
you mean tell him not to say anything, or actually put a fabric gag on his mouth?
Well, they can do that. Well, that has to be done by the court. But I would basically tell him, if you speak to me once, I wouldn't. But I would tell him it's not in his best interest to speak to me. I'm trying to concentrate on what's going on. I get enough problems here.
Well, I've got a question for you, Shin, actually, right? What would you do if you was the prosecution lawyer?
Well, again, the AUSA, who was the prosecutor, represented probation. So look at probation as being their client. You have to defer to what they wanted to do. And it really comes down to probation. And by the way, all of these conditions, you got to remember this, is whether they be general or specific or modified or whatever it is, always comes down to the subjected to the discretion of probation. Probation has the final word on making life pretty much difficult for him if he wanted. And I think that's the message he got, or maybe he didn't get that, because when he gets out, probation is now loaded to come after him, and they know what to look for. And he's going to have to fly right, because as the judge said, probation will turn into police officers very, very soon. So I think probation felt like they scared him enough to keep him in line, and that, just to be fair, we gave you this warning this time, but the next time it happens, that's it. That's pretty much it. That's my feeling. That's my impression.
Yeah, I think the judge, I don't know whether we mentioned it, the judge's summing up was brilliant. He went on for quite a while. This was after Lorne's rant.
I really like that judge.
Yeah,
I really
did.
do.
It was great. You got a real sense of sincerity from him, and he cared about like everybody. He wanted Lorne to reform. He actually said at the end, "Good luck, Mr. Armstrong," and you got this sense that he meant it. And it was like he just basically said, "Your whole problems are alcohol. You need to stop drinking, and you need
get
to
off the internet.
get off the internet, do something productive, read a book, sort your life." He was giving him real good advice, but he wasn't. I don't think he was listening. I really don't.
I don't think so either.
We're gonna have to wrap it up, guys. Is there anything? Is there anything else you want to say?
No,
Anybody?
I just want to say
Paul and Michael.
Got them all.
No, I just want to say thanks for having me on and getting together with you guys and seeing all this unfold before our eyes was really amazing.
Paul, it was really nice. I mean, excuse me, Sox Kopaka. It was really nice meeting you, and you too, Mebs. It was awesome.
It was quite. I quite enjoyed going to this with you guys. It was really a lot of fun and interesting. And thank you guys for your hospitality as well.
Oh, next time we come, by the way, we've got it all set where we have the hotel, which loves our community apparently. And I was thinking we could do a scavenger hunt, because that's a perfect place for it. We can do things. Think about all the things we could have a scavenger hunt for. That would be an amazing activity for us. But there's a lot of things we could do. It's a wide open place. There's a big barbecue pit in the back, and it's just a great place for a command center for all of us. And it looks like there's enough. How many people you think could fit in that whole motel? That motel, I would say about maybe 40.
Yeah, 20. Yeah. I think it was 20 rooms.
Yeah. So, and there'll be a time he will fuck up again.
Hey, perfect place for cod stock.
Yes, that's what I meant. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
We're gonna see if we can set up a yearly meeting. And Shin wrote out a little note and put it in the notice board thing where people leave their little goodbye notes about cod. This has been a monumental.
Oh, did you post that? Oh my god.
I think I've got the photograph actually. In fact, I can put that up. I've not had time to do it now, but
yeah, we'll do it next time. Yeah, that's cool.
But just to let you know, guys, there's going to be some videos coming up soon. What we're going to do is we're going to do a video with a brilliant tip in it about her sort of journey for talking to Lorne and how she's changed. She mentioned it in her own video that she did on her channel, but hopefully we're going to do a stream, me and Shin with her. It should be good. So there's lots of other things.
Me, though. I don't know if I can do it. She intimidates me too much.
Well, yeah, quite rightly so. And so we're going to be doing that. And we've got some other ideas for. There's going to be some good stuff coming up soon. I didn't have a lobster roll, unfortunately. It was too bloody expensive, and I was.
No, we couldn't get in. Remember, Mike's Pastry. The line was out.
But I went back the day after.
Roll, not lobster tail. Okay.
Yeah. But Maine's beautiful. Maine is absolutely what an amazing place it is. It's like unspoiled paradise. So yeah, guys. Thanks for joining me, and thanks for all the gifts, because these guys bought me gifts when I was there. I've got a Maine license plate, a Boston hoodie, and some memorabilia. A Dale Out Junior car. It's pretty. Those guys.
Well, did you use your pleasure pack yet? Are you done with your pleasure pack that you got?
Hey, keep that quiet. Oh, yeah, I can't believe I've not mentioned this. When Shin picked me up from the airport, right, he had. Right, a pack of pleasure condoms and a silver bracelet with a receipt from Walmart. How cool is that? So I knew it was going to be an unusual but good trip. So apologies for not being able to stay on longer, guys. But I've been really ill since I got back in England. I picked something up from the plane, so this has been a bit of an effort for me. So, and I apologise for the sound issues and whatnot. So, guys, thank you so much for joining me on the stream, Michael, Paul, and Shin. I'll maybe do another stream next week. There'll be some good stuff coming up. We've got plenty to talk about. So,
and shout out to Watson. She was a big help. She got the salmon.
Yes.
Salmon T-shirt. She got everything. She's amazing. She was totally.
She was our videographer and got almost documentary maker. Some of the photos that she got.
Couldn't have done it without her.
Well, thanks, Betty. I'll hopefully I've got to go to work in the morning, but I'm pretty sure I'll be okay in the next few days. So guys, thank you so much. I think there's been more in the chat than we've ever had for obvious reasons. People want to know the nitty gritty, and I hope that we've covered it as you know as good as you'd hoped. I hope that we've given you enough to get on with. Because hey, as it is in the chat, I'm not seeing you around for a pal. It's good for a while, pal. It's good to see you. But I hope we've covered it well enough for you. I hope we've given you enough insight. But don't forget, this is just the beginning. You know, we just wanted to get it out in the open so that everybody had all the nitty gritty, and we can. There's going to be when we get the transcript, we've got it all there. So, guys, thanks so much again for joining me. Thanks everybody in the chat. Stay safe. Don't go on the internet chatting kids up. Whatever you do, please. And we'll speak to you soon.